Hey, what's up? Welcome to Comic Book Radio. Thank you guys for being here. I'm your host, Peter Cimetti. This is episode 114. Speaking of feeling like you're going insane, trying to do the audio check today with Peter in the green room. And man, there's a bug or something going on, StreamYard with Chrome, and it's making an echo or something. If you guys hear an echo over the course of the show, we're doing everything we possibly can to get rid of that, but it's just beyond our reach. It's out of our control. Sorry. Shouldn't be too bad, though. Shouldn't be too bad. We got a great show, though, tonight, or today. It's sunny outside. Usually the show is on at night. We're on at the day right now, 1 o'clock Eastern. Before we get started and bring Peter Gilmore on the show, who is the guest? Levi Skeen, what's up? Hope you're doing well. We got Andy Gogo here as well. What's up? Phantasmagorical in the house. How's it going, Fanta? Kelraiser is here too. What's up, Kelraiser? Looks like we got Ken Rocafort in the house today. Mitagraphia right there. Hope you're doing well, Ken. Thank you for being here. Cole King. What's up, Cole? Hope you're doing good. Amanda B is here, shouting out the Rocaforce. Look at that. Hey, Amanda. Hope you're doing good. I trust you are. It's a nice day. Is it nice by you? Amanda's up in Maine. We got Kelraiser saying that Bruce quote is one of my favorites. That whole interview is great. The Lost interview. It's a great one. Yes, Phantasmagorical. It's Pete and Pete. Let's see what kind of misadventures we can have today. Charlie says it's too early. Yeah, I know, right? Man, too early. I was doing a lot of work right before the show, and I was like, man, how is it 12:45 already? What the heck? Shrek PMC, what's up, Shrek? Hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. And Jaded One, what's up, Jaded One? Thank you for being here as well. Hope you guys are having a great day so far. It's about to get better because we've got the man of the hour here, Mr. Peter Gilmore. What's up, Peter?
Hi. How's it going? How's it going, sir? What you? I was going to say what have you been up to today, but it's morning, so...
Yeah, by you, it's not. What time is it by you?
6 p.m. Just
good.
After 6 p.m. It's dark out. It's dark out. And cold. Yeah.
Do you guys do the time change thing too, or is that just an American thing?
No, we do, but we do it a week before you. So there's a week of limbo where I don't know what time it is for you guys.
Why do human beings do this?
I don't know.
We have a penchant for making things way more complicated than they need to be, don't we?
Apparently so. Apparently it corrects itself every 4 years or something. I don't know.
Do a time change every leap year.
Yeah. Do that. Yeah. Give us 2 extra days.
I think what they should do, they should put it forward. Well, this is standard time, right? What they should do is instead put it forward another hour when it's supposed to end, and then we'll have daylight still where you are. Daylight when it's 6 o'clock over here, and it'll be nice and bright like 10 o'clock in the summer. Might be a little darker in the morning or whatever, but who the heck, you're working. And I can only imagine you go to work and it's like dark when you go and then dark when you get out. It's depressing. I'm sure accidents are more prone to happen at night. That's all that stuff. We can control time, Peter. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And what are we doing with it? We're making it worse and confusing.
I don't know. Blame the farmers and the coal miners, because that's why we got daylight saving.
And that's the ironic thing, right? Because I imagine that they're like, I don't care what time it is. The sun's up, we're up. Sun goes down, we go back to where, they're not following the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Crazy. Just crazy. Anyway, talking about
everything
horror.
on comic book time. Comic book time. I
like that. CBT.
Yeah.
So you're scary good at horror art. So I'm glad to have you on today
Yeah,
because
not bad, not bad.
oh pish posh. That's that British modesty right there.
Oh no, I got accused of over rendering.
Over
You
rendering,
can't,
interesting.
you
Okay,
can't
okay.
win.
Yeah, no, you can't win. Um, but I think you're pretty good. So everybody, if you haven't had a chance yet, Peter's art is featured in Super Dead #2. It was also in Super Dead #1, but #2 is funding right now. The link is in the description of the show if you want to check that out. It's written by Mandy Summers as well. As far as your inclination, I guess, at least like you're renowned for horror art at this point, was that always the case? Did you always have an affinity towards horror?
Oh yeah, yeah. Since I was a kid, I used to stay up. I used to sneak downstairs after the parents had gone to bed to watch, spooky films, spooky movies.
Mm.
And then I think round about the time I must have been 5 or 6. Over in the UK, for some reason, there was just a blitz of like showing horror movies on TV, and they obviously thought, oh, they're old movies. They can't be that bad for kids. So we'd get like Hammer movies and Universal movies, and that was it. I kind of fell in love with the Wolfman and Dracula,
Yeah.
and Creature from the Black Lagoon is still one of my favorite Universal monsters. So yeah, that's kind of where it all comes from with me. Plus, days where when things like Evil Dead came out and all that kind of stuff back in the day,
Yeah.
they were kind of banned over here, and they were very strict
Oh,
about who
wow.
could see them. But our local video store guy was a really nice man, and would sort of like me and a buddy would go in, and we're clearly too young to be watching this stuff, but he'd kind of, yeah, go on, take it. It's fine. It's fine. Don't tell your mother.
It sounds like he was an angel to some and a demon to others.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, the mainstream kind of media and stuff at the time was very cracking down on all that stuff, and it was when the satanic panic over Dungeons and Dragons was going on and all that kind of stuff. So, protect the children, but the children love seeing people's heads getting chopped off and vampires and half-naked ladies.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, everything a grown boy needs.
Exactly.
Pastmaster Dan, I wasn't aware that Mandy and Peter created King Cryptid. Look at that, Pastmaster.
What?
Peter, you're getting
What?
around.
Yeah, dude. I'll take it.
I appreciate the shout out there, Pastmaster, but I'm pretty sure that's my book. We
Yeah.
got the link for Super Dead in the chat, though. I mean,
But very
it's actually in the chat too. I believe someone must have put it there, but it's also in the description.
Yeah.
So you got into all that stuff early on. I kind of was the same way too. I was always sneaking down the stairs to see the horror movies that were past 10 o'clock, or my family
Yeah.
would be watching Tales from the Crypt, and I'm like, okay, I didn't have to be too sneaky about it. It was just more like, it's past your bedtime. If you have nightmares or if you don't wake up, you're not doing it again. So I made sure, if I had a nightmare, I kept it to myself, and I
Yeah.
always woke up because I wanted to keep seeing that.
Only thing that ever gave me a nightmare was Jaws. Weirdly, I was probably 9 or 10. Just that scene with the boat, with the head, when the head drops down in the boat, the severed head. That scared that. Yeah, don't know why. I'd seen way worse horror movies than that, but that freaked me out. And
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I've got mortal fear of sharks and deep water now,
When
which is lucky because I live in the middle of England.
oh well, you guys are just an
Yeah.
island.
Yeah,
You're
surrounded
just
by
surrounded by.
sharks. Yeah,
It's just surrounded by water.
yeah, it's fine.
At least it's not the kind of. Although, do you guys have great whites up there? Do they get up there?
Well, most people think no, but yes, we do actually. Yeah, I kind of looked into this
Oh.
because one turned up somewhere near the entrance to the River Thames, like down in London,
Oh,
and
okay. Wow.
people were saying it's a massive anomaly, and then I kind of looked into it, and no, no. Yeah, I mean, the waters are quite cold around here, but we still get them. Yeah, we do still get them. Just we don't talk about it.
Oh, interesting. You guys got a lot of sea serpents and cryptids in the water, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah, especially up in Scotland.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So as far as horror comics go, did you get into those at any point in time? What were some of your favorites?
I'm a huge fan of all like the old EC comics stuff. That kind of it was creepy, and I don't know, by today's standards, more in line with things like the Twilight Zone than actual horror. Because I do find that genuine horror is difficult to do in comics. Very difficult.
Yes.
It's very difficult to scare people. Almost impossible, I would think. But you can creep people out, and you can shock them and gross them out. So we have the tools that we have. Yeah, I used to be into those, and we used to get a Hammer horror magazine, which would have sort of like screen grabs and bits and pieces from different Hammer movies, but there'd also be 3 or 4 comic strips in there as well. So you get a Dracula comic strip and a Wolfman, and
Nice.
things like that. They were fantastic, yeah. But they were all drawn. I mean, they were never drawn in the likenesses of the Hammer ones. So Dracula, I remember the Dracula one in particular. He just had this huge mustache, and it's like Dracula doesn't look like that. And then I read the book, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, Dracula does look like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's that Bela Lugosi cinematic kind of horror thing that took that away, because that was funny
yeah,
too, because I've seen a lot of Dracula with the mustache, and then I had the same thought at first, and then when I read I was like, oh okay, yeah, no, that's correct.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's like, I mean, Frankenstein's monster in the book looks nothing like Boris Karloff, you know?
Yeah, 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 and he's not anything near as dim-witted or anything. He's actually pretty intelligent.
Yeah, intelligent and quite handsome if he wasn't partially dead or whatever, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because yeah, that's right. In the book, he creates him with all of these attractive body parts, but when he's reanimated, it still doesn't quite take. Like the eyes are kind of pale
Yeah,
and distant and
yeah,
cloudy, and the whole you see the veins through the
yeah.
translucence of the skin, and yeah,
And
but
he
it's
had
still
long flowing black hair.
yeah, yeah, more like a. Well, I mean, it was kind of gothic, so
Yeah,
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 more
yeah,
like a archetypal gothic character.
yeah.
Um,
Wrightson got it right. Wrightson got it right.
yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah, Vlad the Impaler with that sweet stash.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But taking a step back, you had said
Okay.
something which is the heart of the conversation here today. You mentioned that it's difficult within comics, really, to truly, or at least this is how you feel, to truly scare someone because the tools are a bit limited. The medium is a bit limited. We don't have sound to play up, the
Yeah,
passage of time, the realism, the darkness that you can put into a horror
yeah.
film, that kind of thing. So as far as making a comic goes that's horror, what do you do to maximize what's available to you?
So I very much try and use atmosphere to when you need to build up some suspense or whatever. I like to use atmosphere, and I'm very much into like the old Universal movies, how they've got the very stark shadows and that kind of stuff going on. I've got a couple of sneaky homemade filters that I use to put over things to make it a bit grimy and dirty. Um, and then, of course, you can do the splash page with the gore. That's always a good one. A page turn onto something, someone with the guts hanging out, or a huge zombie or whatever, that kind of thing. That works. Page turns, very useful, but you can only do it so many times before. It's like a jump scare in a movie, do it too
Yeah,
much,
yeah,
and yeah, it's difficult, but it's mostly about setting the tone, setting the atmosphere. Um, which is why I really love black and white for horror. But you can't always do black and white, so it's got to be the right kind of colouring when you do colour it, I find. I've seen some fantastic like line working comics, horror comics, and then someone's come along and coloured it, and it's just like, whoa, yeah, that's ruined completely. Wrong kind of colouring. When you throw like a really
that can
brash,
happen in general too.
yeah, when you throw a really brash kind of, not knocking 90s comics, but that 90s comics brash colouring, that in your face, you throw that on top of a horror comic, it can be a bit, ooh, don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the challenges we've got with Super Dead, because it's horror, but it's also heroes and stuff, and it's got that kind of bit of a 90s vibe to it. So I'm constantly getting shouted at by Mandy for toning the colours down too much. It's like, no, brighter, brighter.
Oh, she wants them brighter.
Yeah. Which I think we've cracked it now.
Oh, good.
But
You found the secret formula.
Yeah, I'm stuck when it comes to art and stuff. I'm stubborn. She taught me around, and we tried a few different things. I think we've got there now. I think we've got it.
I loved a lot of the, even though it's not modern in any means, but I think it's practically the best. Other than the EC stuff, the pre-code horror, I've really loved all the monster and horror books from DC and Marvel back in the day.
Yeah,
And I thought those were so great with the line work and the coloring and just the way that everything about them, and this kind of went along with the superhero books too, but everything about the way they were colored was all about framing the main event inside each panel.
Yeah.
So whether that was a character or whatever, to draw your attention to it, as opposed to a lot of modern coloring like you were talking about. Things can get lost when it's treated too realistically, or there's too many colors all over the place, or it's not emphasizing the emotion of the panel,
I kind of that kind of coloring where it's all I kind of refer to it as like literal coloring. So this guy's skin's pink, so that's going to be pink there. He's wearing a red shirt, blah blah. And then, but I like to, I don't know, I mess around a lot with like color layers and overlays and stuff like that, just to give it a little bit more coherent and make it look a bit.
It's kind of like what you have going on right now. You've got a nice horror scheme going on right now.
Oh yeah, it was all green before, but I kind of look. Ooh.
Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, see.
Yeah.
You can color the panels and the panel within the show.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that's so important. Like you said, you can't always have it black and white. Black and white really lends itself well to horror. But when you go into the color aspect of it, if you do kind of start coloring up everything literally, I think that even tones down the scare factor too, because you can really heighten the emotion, heighten the look and the vibe of certain things, and create the overall atmosphere,
Yeah, and that's it. That's one of the main things I go for with any of the books I do. It's the atmosphere, really. I'm trying to show. Yeah, just let people know where we are, what we're doing, what kind of vibe trying to creep people out, or it's difficult to explain without seeing it.
Yeah. What's some of your favorite subject matter to draw in the context of horror?
I am a sucker for sort of like more period stuff, so like the Jack the Ripper books we've done. That stuff's fantastic. I love the creepy old, the dark, mysterious, foggy London streets and all that kind of stuff. And then the second Jack the Ripper book, we moved to Paris. And Paris is like a bright, vibrant city of light, and so we kind of went to the outskirts a little bit, and to the creepier places and the darker places, and might have played with geography a little bit and put some places closer to where the action is than they should have been. If you went literally, then there's a part of the book where they probably traveled 300 miles in 2 seconds, but who cares?
Well, that's up to Mandy. You just have to draw it. That's up to Mandy to put, 2 days
No,
later or
that's
300 miles
that,
away.
no, that's me. That's me. No, I mean what I'm saying is if anybody knows France very well and knows the area around Paris, they'll know that the particular church I used for a certain bit,
Oh, okay.
isn't actually in Paris. It's out on, that kind of stuff. But it was a badass looking church, so screw it.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're taking a creative license right there.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things with the Jack the Ripper book, because it is based in real places and real things that happen, kind of, with a vampiric twist on it, a
Yeah,
horror
yeah.
twist.
Well, he's a vampire hunter, right? So I mean, that's the
Exactly.
having a church that's out of place a bit is probably the least of the
Well,
realism
exactly.
concerns.
Yeah, they weren't really the prostitutes he killed weren't really vampires. So
Speaking of which, when I had Mandy on, I was talking to her about this, but this would be way more up your alley. In terms of doing research on it, did you do any of that? I mean, was that, and if so, was that really difficult to see some of the imagery there and reading up on
insane
some of
amounts
it?
insane amounts of research. Yeah. I literally researched everything down to the clothes they wore. And
Oof.
because it's really detailed stuff, so it's like, well, what kind of buttons did they have on their shirt? Like that. And then also like researching the the Jack the Ripper side of things, the victims. That's pretty grim. That's grim stuff. And
Absolutely.
also, I like, there's a scene with where Jack's trying to figure out what vampires are, what makes them tick. So there's a scene where in his little kind of laboratory lair, he's got a vampire, chained down, this female vampire, and she's just there with skin peeled back, rib cage open, all the internals are there. So researching stuff for that, and then also trying to make it look like there's a really famous photograph of one of Jack the Ripper's victims. There's very few actual photographs because it was mostly like
Yeah, I think I
illustrated,
know the one
you
you're
know.
talking about.
Yeah. So I kind of also married that into it. So it's like looking at that victim and then redrawing it as a vampire that's still alive, but with the same wounds. And yeah, my Google search history is, yeah. I'm surprised no one's knocked on my door yet.
Man, oh man,
Yeah.
that stuff is tough. Was there any point in time where you felt like maybe some of this was a little too difficult to draw, like you had to talk to Mandy about it, where you maybe do the thing where you're not necessarily getting as in your face about it. You know how a lot of the time in horror, the whatever it is that's extra gory or extra horrible, you'll see more like the person's reaction. Yeah, like the person who's doing the crime or whatever, or it'll happen off panel, off frame, that kind of a thing. Was
Yeah.
there any moment where you're like, Mandy, we gotta tone that down a little bit?
Oh hell no. I'm a horror guy. And that stuff does not phase me at all. No.
I
No,
figured
in
you'd
fact,
say that, but I
I
gotta ask.
I
Was
sometimes just can I do this? And
Yeah,
instead of just like,
conversely, was there anything where you're like, let's ramp it up?
to be honest, we're kind of on the same wavelength. Which, yeah, I mean, I
No.
know she comes across as all sweetness and light and cheerful Mandy, but she's dark. She's dark and evil. Don't trust her.
Uh oh.
And if she's watching, no, sorry, you are sweetness and wonderful.
Very
No,
interesting.
we're kind of on the same wavelength with stuff. And like the first Super Dead, there's a particular part in it where it's like, I suppose anybody else would be kind of, do we do this? Do we go this far? Do we go this dark? Can we do this? Yeah, do it. I was just, yeah, let's do it.
What was
Um,
the most in terms of getting everything into a horror comic? What was the thing about doing that kind of drove you the most nuts? That you found the most difficult?
um, I mean, the most, to be honest, the most difficult thing just with any comic for me is leaving it alone when it's done. Do you know what I
Oh,
mean?
okay. Knowing when to stop.
yeah, knowing when to stop, knowing when not to go back, and I could draw a panel and then a couple of days later think about an infinitely better way of doing it, and the first few times it happened to me, I'd go back and change it, but now I'm kind of like, no, you've got to move on, otherwise the book's never going to be done,
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff, that high detail kind of stuff, takes long enough as it is without making double the work for myself. So yeah, but I do like to, because I'm getting on a bit now, so there's probably not that many more comics in me. So
Oh, no way.
oh,
Really?
I don't know. I do suffer quite a bit with the old,
I get
claw
you.
hand.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially when I'm drawing, like, because I'm one of these people who, once I start, someone either has to stop me, or I suddenly have to realize, I'm falling asleep. So I'll work
Well,
at the height of
lucky
doing.
for you, you can just tell the computer what to do by that point in time. Just say, computer,
Well,
draw that thing the way I want it to be drawn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I could just go onto a website and type in some words.
There you go.
Don't get me started on that.
I won't. Speaking of horrors, that's like the slow
Yeah.
build up, and yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, yeah, that really does, in terms of knowing when to stop, that is a really important thing, because some people can, and you were kind of joking about it before when the show started about over rendering and things like that, with
Yeah.
your own art. But that really is an important thing, in terms of just everything, writing, creating the
Absolutely.
art, whatever it may be. But specifically with horror, is there any kind of, whether it was a creature or a subject or anything like that, that you really wrestled with more than others?
I'm just trying to think. Not really.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Um,
You're just
I
that good, huh, Peter
I
Gilmore?
well, one of the hardest things for me, like I was saying about knowing when to stop, but also, I mean, when I first started doing this, I would draw every leaf on a tree, and that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And weirdly, I play bass, so I was watching an interview with Bootsy Collins, the bass player, and because I used to be into all that, like Flea from the Chili Peppers, all that insane bass playing,
Yeah.
and Les Claypool from Primus and all that. And then I watched an interview with Bootsy Collins, and he said it's not what you play, it's what you don't play.
Yeah.
And that kind of clicked with me with art as well. It's like, you don't have to draw every damn leaf. You don't have to draw every brick, and
Yep.
which is where I started looking at, because I kind of look at guys like Bernie Wrightson, and like, do you know Gustav Dorr?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I look at Wrightson and stuff like his, and again something clicked, and I was suddenly seeing, right, where they're spotting all the blacks instead of,
Yeah.
and using shadow more, and going a bit harsher and starker with the shadows, and it's like, and another,
Yeah. Once you
the
start
brain
realizing
leveled up again.
it's like addition, it's like addition through subtraction. So
Yeah.
once you start drawing in a subtractive way, where it's
Yeah.
almost like you're carving. You're removing the pieces
it is,
of the,
absolutely, yeah.
and
Yeah, I
you're
mean,
taking that away to reveal the image, because where shadow defines form, it's
Yeah.
looking at it more about how the negative space is framing the image you want to create.
It's like it took me a while to crack, because I do like quite tight pencils, quite detailed pencils, and it took me a while to figure out clouds and mist and things like that, because it can be hard to render. And then that again, it clicked with me. It's like, draw the space around them, not the cloud. Don't draw the cloud, draw the space around the cloud. Render that part. Don't render. Yeah. It's just little simple things. Every now and then something will click in my brain, and
Oh yeah, you
and
open
then you
up
get
a whole other world at that point when that
yeah,
happens.
exactly. Yeah. And it's like, oh wow, so I can do water like that as well. I can do this like that, and it's And then I do something, and then people say, "Oh, you've leveled up." No, it was always in me. I just
Exactly.
leveled up.
It's just well, at that point, you're like the slab of marble that you're chipping away piece by piece. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm still learning stuff to this day. I mean, I study. I say study. I pore over, Frankenstein, Alive, the Bernie Wrightson. Yeah, the last one he
Oh
did.
yeah.
That book, I've got a copy for my reading, and that is just poured to death. Dog-eared and ruined. But every time I look at it, I'll see something new and be like, "That's how he does that. That's how he does that." Just a shame I never got to meet the guy, because I would have been the most annoying person in the world. I would have talked his ear off, But how'd you do that? Like, what would you do? Yeah, I'd have got a restraining order, I think.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna ask anybody 1,000 questions about how they did it, Bernie Wrightson is right up there. Good grief.
Yeah,
Man, oh
absolutely. Yeah.
man, it's incredible.
Even
Incredible
even
stuff.
his older stuff was like, did you ever read his version of the Black Cat?
No, I didn't
Fantastic.
read that.
Wow,
I gotta
dude,
seek that out.
yeah. There's a bunch of stuff he did that was like just for like tiny little magazines and comics and indie
Yeah.
stuff that no one ever saw really. Well, thanks to the internet, you can eventually, now you can find this stuff now. And I came across his rendering of the Black Cat, and oh my god,
Man. All right, I
it's
gotta
like,
seek that out after the show.
yeah, it's fantastic. I think one of the pages, that, is it Heritage Auctions, the ones that the guys that auction off like high
Yeah,
end
that sounds
popular
right.
pages. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They've actually got a page from that on there, but I can't afford it.
Well, tell Mandy, hey, you gotta start paying me 10 to 20 times the amount.
Yeah, exactly. Why? So I can buy a comic page. What about
It's
food? What about bills?
it's reference material.
Yeah, tax deductible.
Spicer McLeroy, thank you so much for gifting 10 memberships to those in the chat. Really appreciate it, man. Thank you. And everybody who's now a member, enjoy your stay at the Comic Book Lounge. So yeah, I mean, Wrightson just there's not enough words. That's a whole show unto
No.
itself. Discussing
Yeah.
his work. Yeah, Doc Mask says Bernie's Black Cat is great. Yeah. And
Mhm.
creepy? All right. Well, I got to seek it out anyway and check it out.
Yeah,
I've
I
seen a
think it
bunch of
was
his other
creepy, yeah.
stuff, but yeah. Just amazing stuff. Amazing. So as far as what you're doing here on Super Dead, on Jack the Ripper, what other works have you created or helped to create?
Well, the first, because I was kind of doing, I went to art school, did all that stuff, and then ended up being a chef for 25 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was still doing art on the side, just for fun and for. I used to make money like painting leather jackets for metalheads and stuff like that. Do all that kind of stuff on the side, and
Like with the airbrush and all that?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Airbrushing. So I did a Trans Am once. That was fantastic. With a
Oh, man.
huge bald eagle with a stars and stripes behind it on a Trans Am.
Oh, man. Speaking my language, that's amazing.
Oh, it was so much fun to do, and so terrifying as well, because this dude, like, old ass Trans Am. Beautiful. It was beautiful. It's like, yeah, I didn't want to ruin that.
Yeah. Oh, man. There's no undo button for that.
No, there isn't. The undo button is the greatest creation since I don't know what. In fact, sometimes when I'm drawing traditionally, I'll like, yeah, damn, where's that undo button? Where's that damned undo button?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or sometimes mentally in my brain, I'll be drawing something and I'll put it to one side to go and do something else, and mentally I'll click save. What? What's that about? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Sometimes
yeah,
the only undo button for traditional art is to go over it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even use whiteout. I restart stuff. I hate whiteout. Hate it.
Ooh, you're brave.
Yeah. Yeah. The key is don't make a mistake, or be good at
Oh wow.
altering things. And yeah, it's like covering up a tattoo, you know. Well, that can be a bat, I guess. So yeah, I did all that. I became a chef for the longest time, and then about 10 years ago, no, maybe about 12 years ago, I thought, God, just need to do something with this art. And I wasn't liking getting up at 6 a.m. to, or 4 a.m. rather, to cook breakfast for people and things like that. So I just quit the job and said, right, art full time now. And that was a struggle to start with. But I did a few illustration jobs, did a little bit of 3D modeling, some video games, graphic design, advertising, and then I kind of, when things started going south for mainstream comics, round about, I can't remember what year it was now, I started drawing my own books. Never did anything with them because they were crap, because I was still learning how to comic, you know.
Yeah.
And I was still learning how to do sequential art because it's not as easy as anybody thinks. It's
Not at all.
it's insanely difficult to do. It's easy to draw a pin-up of someone, of some character. Look, there's a badass monster. Great. Now draw him again from this angle and this angle and this angle with this lighting and in this place doing this
And
and
that
this.
expression and doing that
Yeah,
and putting the arm there and the body there. Yeah,
yeah. And
forget
it's
it.
still got to look, even worse with people because it's still got to look like that person.
Yep.
Especially if it's a person that hasn't got, like, it's okay if they've got an eye patch or a huge beard or something. Yeah, you can still, it looks kind of like that dude. But when they
Yeah.
haven't got any of that,
I mean, a really simple exercise, too, a lot of the time that I recommend for people that are just getting into wanting to do sequentials and they're thinking it'll be just as easy as doing a cover. They're like, oh, yeah, it's just like doing a cover, but, smaller and this. I'm like, well, okay, draw the same head 20 times. Draw the
yeah,
same head 20 times. And you don't have to even make it look different. You don't have to put them
mm,
that way, this way, up, down. You should
yeah,
do that again another 20 times that way too. But just draw the same face looking straight 20 times. Can you do that?
hmm,
Will they look relatively all like 99% the same? That in itself will drive most people crazy. It's like asking them to make a perfect circle, you know? It sounds like, oh,
why
make
did
a
my
circle.
lighting just
Okay.
go? Sorry, my lighting just gone weird. There we go. Oh God, no!
Oh, wow.
I must have touched something. Yeah. Oh God, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
You had this like nice horror lighting the whole time. I thought it
I
was
know.
purposeful.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
I
I
don't
just
know
don't
what
have the
happened.
light on.
Sometimes StreamYard freaks out with blue light, and like
Oh,
you just get this
interesting.
weird mosaic across your face.
Yeah,
There you
yeah.
go. That's fine. That's fine. No, right.
But
Um.
yeah. Just the consistency of the character.
Hmm.
That in
Yeah.
itself is difficult, and then throw in all the other stuff. Oh,
Yeah. Mm. I would say that is one of the biggest challenges in doing sequentials is getting likenesses correct every time. Even if it's a dude you've made up yourself or whatever, it's getting them to look the same from every angle is I mean, I do a lot of the time when I do my pencils, I do a lot more cartoony than the realistic kind of stuff, just to get like the crazy expressions and stuff, and then I'll tone it back with the inks. You know, I'll tone it down, maybe make them look less cartoonish. But I find for expressions, it's like if I exaggerate it in the pencils, then tone it back with the inks. And I tend to use a lot of my pencils as the grayscale in. I'll put the pencils back underneath and then just like smear them a little bit
yeah, yeah.
to get that lovely, like Dale Keown does. There you go. That's something I learned from Dale.
So you do a mix of traditional and digital, then? Is that correct?
I do, yeah, yeah. Sometimes if I'm in the mood, I'll just do something completely digital. If I try to do key pages, make sure key pages and sort of like splash pages, things like that. I'll try and make sure I've got some kind of traditional, like if it's type pencils or the inks or whatever, because I can sell that. I can sell that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. That's where the money is. That's where the money is. Forget
Yeah.
page rate, selling the original art.
A lot of people building the houses of sticks and straw with the digital makes me get it done faster, and and it's like you look around, years and years and years of digital only. You don't
Yeah.
have any originals to show.
I mean, you could print it and do a remark, but come on.
Yeah, do
You
some
know.
of it. Some of it
Yeah.
traditional.
Well, this is it. Like I say, covers, trading cards, things like that, key pages. There'll either be some type pencils or like an ink page or whatever for that I can, you know, I can pass on to a loving customer who's going to give it a
Exactly.
good home. You know.
Okay, that's the
Um,
retirement fund.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, you asked me about. You actually asked me before I went off on a tangent. Yeah, what I've done before in comics and things. So yeah, so I was doing illustration, all that kind of stuff, just little bits of jobs here and there. Video games, which was a nightmare. Um, and then I kind of started doing my own comics, and they were crap. And then Comicsgate came along. Mentioned the evil word Comicsgate. And it was like, oh, these people kind of think like I do about what's going on with comics. And I started hanging around with them, talking to, do you know that Umbrella guy?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Tug? Yeah. So the first book I worked on actually was, well, I kind of created the little Umbrella Girl character. Um, and then I started doing just dumb fan art of like, that Umbrella guy's got that detective kind of character that he uses as his avatars. So I kind of started mixing that with Lovecraft. So it'd be him fighting tentacle monsters and whatnot. And then from that, I ended up working on backup stories and like an ashcan on his first campaign, his first crowdfunder. And then after that, I did Rocket. Yeah, I mean that was kind of more cartoony kind of stuff. Then I did a book called Rocket Gal and the Mole Men of Mars, where the guy called Wyatt Holiday. Mandy was the editor on that, so that was cool. So she helped us promote it as well.
Oh, okay.
Which is
Is
always a
that
good thing.
is that how you were introduced to Mandy?
No, when she was doing her first book, the one she drew herself, I just offered to do a cover just on Twitter one day. Oh, I guess I better do you a cover. And
Oh,
then
okay.
she had, half an hour later, she's in my DMs going, "Really? You don't have to. Will you do? Will you?" Because I was working with Tug as well at the time, so it's like I think Tug's more famous than me, but it's yeah. So I did the cover. I did a cover for her, and she kind of made it the main cover for her version of Walk the Wizard.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah. So I worked with Umbrella Guy. Then I did that for Mandy. Then we did Rocket Gal and the Mole Men of Mars, which was kind of retro sci-fi, half-naked Barbarella type chick fighting sludge monsters. Why not? Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Why not?
I mean, she wore, to be honest, she only wore kind of the bottom half of a bikini, but she had long hair that always just happened to cover everything, you know.
Ah.
So
Oh
you
well.
never got to see anything. But people think they did see things. They didn't. There's nothing untoward in that book at all. It's all covered up.
Interesting. The mind playing tricks.
Yeah. She also had a pet dog, a sidekick called Booster, who had like a space collar that could zap things, and yeah, that was cool. So he was either in the way of things, or the hair was in the way of things, or there'd be a laser pistol somewhere, so you'd never actually see anything. Then after that, did Super Dad one with Mandy, which was originally going to be a kind of more of a kids cartoony kind of thing.
No way, really.
Yeah. It was going to be
Interesting.
because she'd done Walk the Wizard, which was kind of an all ages thing. And we were talking about it, and it was originally going to be kind of this dumb zombie superhero who he wants to help and he wants to go and save people, but they're always running away in fear, or he'd rescue a cat from a tree and then bring it back to the little girl, but there'd be a bite out of its head, things like that. Just, a bit gross and a bit grim, but for kids, because kids love that kind of stuff. Who
Yeah,
doesn't love
yeah.
a bit gross out? I mean, obviously not graphic horror
It's
or
kind of
gore,
like
but
remember the Beetlejuice cartoon
yeah.
in the 90s?
And like
Yeah.
those weird close-ups they do in Ren and Stimpy. You know, like you get a close-up
Yeah.
of like something gross, like a brain or a stomach or whatever, that kind of thing. Yeah. But then I think I drew like the main character, which ended up being he's called Devour. Um, I kind of did a more serious take on him and drew that and showed it to her, and she's like, "Oh, maybe it's not a kid's cartoony kind of thing. Maybe we'll just go full on horror with it, like superheroes meet horror meet. It's got elements of like you could compare it to a bit of Garth Ennis or something, or you know."
Yeah. That's what it sounds like.
Um,
That's interesting that it
yeah,
was going to be an all ages thing. It kind of reminds me of what we did at Alterna with Mr. Crypt, where
mm,
he's like a skeleton, comes back from the dead. There's never any explanation why he just comes back from his grave, and then he's
yeah.
scaring the
You don't need.
townsfolk, and then he gets a top hat and a mustache for a disguise, and then they're like, oh, okay, that's not a skeleton. That's a person now. But if he loses any of that, the top hat or the mustache, he has to have both. If he loses
Yeah,
either, people are like, monster!
Manta, run!
It's like the Superman
I'm
glasses
dying.
on Clark Kent. Yeah.
It's just it's brilliant. It's Clark Kent, isn't it? Putting
Yes,
glasses
exactly. Yeah.
on. The people of Metropolis are dumb. Yeah, so we did. Yeah, did the first Super Dad. Then I went and we wanted to do Walk the Wizard Book 2, but I was going to draw it. So I kind of said to Mandy, just to bring it in line, why don't I redraw Book 1? Because she'd done Book 1. And she'll admit, first to admit, she wasn't anything like an artist back then. Although, don't believe her now, she can actually draw now, and she's got quite good. But she never
Oh,
really
that's
showed.
good. Well,
She
the
doesn't
more
show
you
it
do
off.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I redrew Walk the Wizard 1, and then we did Book 2 in the same crowdfunder, say campaign, which is all really cartoony kind of stuff. More in line with you've seen like Asterix and things like that.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Yeah, more that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I find like the humor and stuff in it very kind of Terry Pratchett kind of, but it's definitely there's jokes in there that adults will get. It'll go over a kid's head completely, like how cartoons used to be,
Yeah,
And
that's what
then
made them great. You can rewatch them at different points in your life and
yeah,
get something out of
exactly.
it.
Yeah, I think what did that really well. You remember Animaniacs when it first came out?
Yeah,
Not the horrible reboot.
absolutely.
I mean, that had so much of that and so much adult humor, but kids just
Pinky
didn't
and the
get it.
Brain, same thing
Yeah,
within Animaniacs. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, we did that the Walk the Wizard book 1 and 2, and then I wanted to do like a full-on horror book, but I wanted to do kind of a almost as an homage to like the old Universal movies and stuff like that. I wanted to do that kind of thing. So plus I was so much into Wrightson's Frankenstein. It was like, oh, we can't do Frankenstein because he's done it. He did that. Not even going to try.
Well, that's interesting.
You're gonna.
Because, I mean, you could. It's public domain.
You could, yeah, but it's what's the point?
Yeah,
What's the point
that's
when it's been
true.
done perfectly already? Um,
People still
to
do.
me, anyway, to me, that's not knocking
I
anybody who
get you,
wants.
though.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, not knocking anyone that wants to do a Frankenstein book, but you know. So I was thinking Dracula, but how many Dracula comics have there been? Just so many. So I remembered a thing from when I was a kid. When I was a kid on the news, there was the Highgate Vampire, which was a thing
Oh,
going on.
yes. Yep.
Yeah, a thing going on in London back in. Well, it kind of went on. The story, so it went from the sort of 60s through to the 80s. And on the news, we've got vampire hunters going down to Highgate Cemetery to find this vampire. I remember all that from when I was a kid. So I kind of started looking into that, and then
You're
so
like
I
the
was
fourth
researching.
person on this show to mention that, too.
Oh,
Yeah. A
there you
lot of
go.
people mention
Yeah,
that when they come on here. Yep.
weird.
Yeah.
So I was kind of researching that, and I researched Highgate Cemetery a bit because And I found that the first person to be buried at Highgate Cemetery shared a name with one of Jack the Ripper's victims, but Jack was 50 years later. So in my mind, it's like, well, it's the same person. She clearly got buried there, but she's around 50 years later to be killed by Jack. And that's how Jack the Ripper Vampire Hunter came into the noggin. You know? Put two
Well,
and
I
two
mean,
together. You got
even the
vampires.
real story of Jack the Ripper, where there's a big theory where it was someone in the upper echelon, and they were trying to basically sweep it under the rug because it might have been even
Yeah,
someone from the royal family or have ties to the royal family, and they were like, we can't let anyone know about this.
yeah. I mean, was it covered up? I don't think so. I think there was just so many different departments and people working on it that evidence got lost, misplaced. It was just a bumbling nightmare of idiocy. I do
Or do
think.
they want you to think that?
Well, I mean, who knows for real? Who actually knows? Nobody does. And
Yeah.
they've tried to find out, and there was DNA evidence recently saying that he was some Polish guy, but eh,
Yeah, they go
whatever.
back and forth with that one too, and then yeah, because that's the thing. If it is someone that's tied to someone or a family where they don't want you to know,
Yeah,
you're never really gonna know. They're
no,
gonna say it's
exactly.
this person or that person, or some lunatic came along
Yeah,
with surgical
I mean,
precision.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Just so happens that this complete lunatic was also adept with it now. It was somebody, yeah, it was probably somebody. I like the idea that wasn't one guy. I like the idea that
That's possible too.
it was a group of rich kind of medical students going out around town, getting drunk with prostitutes, and then practicing their skills on the prostitutes.
Could
That's
even
my
be some
theory.
kind of secret society ritual sort of
Yeah,
thing being taken place, even.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just a bunch of people with far too much money and parents that can protect them. So maybe it was one of the royals as well. Who knows?
You
Involved.
never
It's
know.
all possible. It's all
It's
possible.
yeah, it's just very it's interesting because it is so anything like that that's legendary and becomes so covered and everything else. It's like the JFK assassination thing where like
Yeah.
and we still don't really know. How can we still not really know? That in and of itself feels like shouldn't we know at this point? Doesn't that make sense to let people know? Oh, it looks like
Ooh,
Peter got disconnected for 1 second. All right, now you're
am I back?
back.
Back?
You're back.
Weird. Bizarre. Um,
But yeah.
yeah, I mean, something's been covered up, isn't it? Clearly, things have been covered up that they don't want you to know.
Yeah, even if it's a mix of both, or a little bit of
Yeah,
incompetence, because you're counting on some people to be kind of incompetent, and then you can play off of that. It helps you to
yeah,
further bury things when there's
yeah.
incompetence involved. But it
Or
does seem a little bit more,
throw a few $1,000s at somebody to be incompetent.
yes, exactly. That never happens, right? Never.
No, never happens. Never ever. So yeah, so we did Jack the Ripper book one, and people seem to love it, but we kind of ended it on a cliffhanger, which isn't something we really intended to do. But we'd hit 60 pages, and it's like we've got to get this book out. Get the book out. We'll do a book two. We'll go straight into book two. So that's what we did. So Mandy's actually fulfilling book two at the moment, and some of the people that have received it already have kind of been positive about it. So
Nice.
it,
Very
it
good.
wraps that story. So we've got like book one, book two covers Jack the Ripper versus the Highgate Vampire sort of thing, all done, nicely wrapped up. Um, and then we'd had people asking what was going on with Super Dad because they liked the first one. So now here we are doing Super Dad 2.
Very nice. And about the fulfillment on that, I'm gonna have Mandy on in like a month or so, but I'll ask you right now. Even, do you know when that's supposed to be done and getting out there to people?
Um, oh, on Jack the Ripper 2 or on this, on Super
On
Dad?
Super Dead #2.
On Super Dad, well, I've got to draw the thing first. So we've got a fulfillment date of next September, but we'll be finished before then. But we like to give ourselves plenty of. Don't want to be one of these people who says it's going to be fulfilled on this date and then be like I mean, the first Jack the Ripper bit, we were like late on that, but that's because I got kind of ill, and I was out of commission for like 3 months, 3 months.
Mm.
Couldn't draw, couldn't do anything. Um, so that was late because of that, and I hated it. It's the worst feeling in the world, knowing that you owe people something, because you do. You owe people something, and I know people will say, well, crowdfunding isn't like shopping. It's not like buying things in a store, but still, it
Yeah,
just
no, I hear you. You know, if I'm
yeah.
2 weeks late, I'm like, oh Lord. So if it
Oh,
turned
dude,
into a month or two, oh man, it eats
imagine
at
being
me.
3 months late. Imagine being ill and not being able to draw, and knowing there's people waiting, and all I wanted to do was, I kind of went against doctor's orders and started drawing, started back to work sooner than I should. Thankfully, I'm okay. But I just had to. I couldn't draw at all. I draw every day, you know. And when you're not, because that's my people say to me, oh, why? My friends say, oh, why don't you come out every weekend? Why don't you do this? Let's go do. I'm having fun doing this, and I know it makes me boring and whatever. But
It's a
you
part of
see,
you, you
yeah,
know?
they get to see me at Christmas. I'll go out for a night at Christmas.
That's a difficult thing to explain. We got a couple minutes, but I like that you brought that up because that is a difficult thing to explain to some people that aren't as, let's just call it what it is. It's an obsession. And
Yeah,
you're not as obsessed about something or especially something like that seems like it takes up a lot of your time. And, wouldn't you rather do this or that or the other thing? And it's really difficult to explain that to people that, like, this is a part of who I am. This is like asking me to stop
yeah.
breathing.
Yeah, it is. It's weird. Who'd have thought it? Who'd have thought that comics and yeah, who'd have thought that I could do something like that to a person? But I just love doing it. I get up in the morning and the first thing I'm thinking about is, right, I need to just go and start drawing. Even when I'm going to sleep at night, I'm like thinking, right, I'm going to do this tomorrow. And the worst one is when you have a dream that you've done a page and you haven't.
Yes, I've had that,
That
man.
that that's that's a nightmare. That's horrible. Because then you can only half remember the page, but it was awesome. But
I've had
yeah,
whole issues that I've written for King Cryptid, and I wake up and I'm like, that's not an issue I'm working on. And then I struggle like crazy to remember because in the dream I'm feeling like this is great. And I'll get
yeah.
like bits and pieces back sometime, and I write them down and I try to see if it'll come to
Oh yeah,
fruition eventually.
I've
But
got I've got stacks and stacks of pages of notes on, because I must have at least, it's weird, I must have at least like 4 or 5 ideas for a comic a week, a new comic, and then maybe one of those might be usable-ish. So, but after a year, I've probably got 2 ideas that are really worth doing, because I'm not going to churn out any old crap. It's got to be the good stuff.
that's not so bad though. 2 good ideas a year, you
I
know,
would say, yeah,
that's pretty
yeah.
good.
Sometimes you come up with an idea and then think, like, then a name for the book will pop into my head, and it's like, holy crap, that's like Jack the Ripper Vampire Hunter was one for me. That's just like, oh, I mean, you don't even need to see the book because the name just tells you what it is, and it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
I kind of floated the idea before I even told Mandy. I floated the idea around to a few friends like who work in comics and whatever, and like, what do you think of this? And just gave them the name, and they're like, holy, yeah, if you don't do it, I will, sort of thing. So, eh.
So are you the creator then of that, or are you the co-creator? How does that work?
I mean, we both worked on it. It was kind of, I drew before I went to Mandy with the idea. I drew like, I think 4 pages, 4 or 5. It might have been more, 4 or 5 pages of what I wanted it to be, to set the tone and to show like what the black and white art would look like. And I said, what? And I kind of went to Mandy and said, what do you think of this? And showed her the name, just the name of the book, and she's like, hmm. And then I showed her the artwork, and she's like, holy shit, let's do that. And then she kind of, I'm really good at coming up with ideas and or maybe situations, but she pulls it all together and
Mm,
makes sense of my gibberish, my autistic rambling.
gotcha,
So
gotcha.
yeah, so yeah, yeah, we're co-creators because I couldn't do it without her. I couldn't do any of this stuff because I've got a warped mind. Her mind is 10 times as warped, but it's also ordered, and she can add structure to things, and she can flesh out characters, and well, maybe don't do this with this character. Maybe we'll do this with them instead, and it always makes more sense. Damn her.
Well, that's great though that you guys
Yeah,
have that because it's difficult to find.
it is. It
So
is.
yeah,
It's very, very difficult to find. If you find someone you work really well with that gets you, and you can bounce ideas off and criticize each other, and still remain friends. If you find someone like that,
super
that's
difficult.
gold. That's gold.
It really is. It is so
Mm.
difficult. So yeah, kudos to you guys. I hope it lasts a very, very long time, as long as you guys possibly want it to
Fingers
last.
crossed. Yeah.
Yeah. Alpha Suma, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Appreciate it. Says, I appreciate not wanting to make us wait, but I will always prefer the artist best over speed. Can't wait to receive Vampire Hunter #2. There you go.
Oh, you'll never get speed over best work. Promise. I promise. That's never going to happen with me. It's going to be fast and best work.
That's great. That's when you get the sweet spot.
I got it down to 2 days a page now. 2 days a page.
Oh, that's pretty good, man.
That's not bad.
Man.
Not bad. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
Unless it's
yeah.
an insane page, then maybe 3 days. But most pages 2 days. Yeah.
Very good. Hey, what's up, Rod? We're ending the show, but thank you for stopping by and saying hello today. Gerald says Gene Colan was a fantastic vampire and horror artist. Great placement of blacks. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Gene Colan was just great in general.
Yeah. There's too many out there. There's too many good artists.
Oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot that have been.
Yeah.
And yeah, we gotta.
And the rest of them are in indie comics, apart from one or two.
Yeah, absolutely. Gotta try to way to carry the baton, the torch, whatever your preference is.
Let's face it, mainstream can't afford us.
I wouldn't want to, and I've never worked for the mainstream. I've been
No.
from the start. But the more I learned, and it was because of the fact I talked to so many of the old time type pros that were like encouraging me. They wouldn't even say, "Oh yeah, no, send your stuff here, send your stuff there." They were encouraging, stay indie, keep building your ideas, keep doing that, So they wouldn't badmouth the mainstream, but they wouldn't necessarily say, "Oh no, it was great, it was the best. You got to pursue that," So that kind of gave me a hint as to what I should really do. And then the more things kept unfolding over time, at this point 17 or so years, the more I was like, I would never.
No. Join someone else's characters, knowing that you can't own any of it, and I don't think I'd be able to put everything I've got into it. I don't think I could do my best work doing someone else's. Well, especially like the mainstream. I mean, I can work with other indie people because we're just better. But no, the only thing that would tempt me to the mainstream, and it's never going to happen, is if they said, "Pete, please come and draw Swamp Thing for us." Then I might think about it.
It would have to be like I don't know. There's no scenario. I was gonna say it would have to be like all of us move to there, and we get to do all the things we want to do.
Yeah,
it's like making going back to Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brains, going back to making Chia Earth.
Mm-hmm.
We all just kind of go from here to there, and now like they're empty or they're the indie now, and then we're the mainstream. But I honestly think that's how it's going to kind of happen without us having to move anywhere. I think more and more people are going to discover the truly creative and different and new ideas and characters out there. And it'll take time and it'll take effort, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be happening 100%.
Yeah, and it's much easier to get noticed now as well because we all know what it's like, so we're all quite happy to help other people out. And we've got a network of people, I think, that are good people that are quite happy to give advice, to give promotion, and just get more people seeing more good books out on the shelves or out in the world and in readers' hands. We're doing great. Indie comics is fantastic.
Oh yeah, better than any other time before, to be honest. I mean, like you
Mm,
said,
mm.
now, even when I started 17 years ago, it's nothing like what it is today. All the things that are at your disposal to get out there, and it's a totally different world. If I started today, I wouldn't even pursue traditional distribution. I would just keep going 100% indie with that too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I do see people from the kind of our sphere like creeping into that kind of stuff, and there was someone I was talking to the other day that's got a deal going with Diamond, I think, is it, or some I can't remember. But yeah, it's do it yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Do it
I wish
yourself. Kind of,
everybody the best for it, but
yeah.
man, my personal experience and the experience of others that I know of, they were like, yeah, not all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Hmm.
man, thank you so much for being here today, man. Appreciate it. Phantasmagorical, thank you for the $2 super chats. It's a great show. You guys rock. Much love. Thank you, Fanta. Really
You
appreciate
rock,
that.
Fanta. No, you rock. Fanta's a
100%.
big supporter of mine. Huge supporter of mine. Fantastic.
Oh yeah, she's great. Charlie says, I'm a little behind in the video, but hearing that they have nightmares about not getting a page done. These men are too dedicated to the craft, but we love them for it. There you go. Well, I don't think we know any other way to be. The people that are
No.
like that, it's like, and I've said this before on the show, not this one, but other shows, where some people will go, oh, okay, I'll do a better job if I get paid to do a better job. If I get paid what I feel is less,
Nah.
I'm going to deliver less. And I'm like, I don't know how to be that way. I deliver
No.
what I think
Same
is the
here.
best thing I could do, period.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
either take the job or I don't take the job. If I take the job, I'm doing the best I can do. There isn't like a
Yeah.
lesser version of me.
Exactly. Yeah. I couldn't let the work go out there that was no. I just couldn't. Subpar work. No. No. Something I can't be proud of. Never. Never.
Right? You have to take your name off it and hide your head in shame and hope no one
Yeah.
ever puts two and two together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy smokes, people. If I was paid more, maybe well, don't take the job. Don't take the job.
Exactly.
Don't work
Yeah.
for less than you think you deserve. And then if you do take the job, give it your best. That's
Yeah.
how you
And
get bigger and better jobs, by the way.
yeah. And the time you're spending looking for that job, looking for that thing with the mainstream or with whoever, you could have been drawing your own book. You could crowdfund it. You could have drawn
Yeah.
it in some kind, got it printed yourself. Even if it's even if you print it on your damn printer at home, and just sell them for a couple of bucks a copy. Whatever.
Yeah, make some ash
Get it
cans,
out there.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You could be spending that time doing it yourself, and then you'd own that thing, and you know.
Speaking my language, man. All
Yeah.
right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here today. We're going to be closing out the stream right now. It was a great conversation with Peter Gilmore. If you guys haven't had a chance to check out Super Dead #2 and a lot of other books that Peter's on, working with Mandy Summers as well, go to the description of the show. The link is there. Peter, where can they find you?
You can find me on the Twitter, X at Peter Gilmore Art. I do have other social medias. I don't use them. I've got a YouTube channel. I rarely use it, but you can find me on Mandy Summers' YouTube channel more often than not. Every now and then I pop up there when she remembers to let me out of the basement, chained to the desk.
You'd
Yeah,
have it no
just
other way.
follow me on X if anyone ever needs any help or advice, or because I've done a few of these books now, hit me up. I'm always here to do what I can for anyone.
Very awesome. And thank you guys so much for being here today in the chat. We've got a winter apparel and merch campaign on alternacomics.com/winter. Get premium blankets, hoodies, mugs, beanies, all that good stuff. The campaign closes November 27th. It is nowhere else other than the Alterna site. It's not an Indiegogo, not Fund My Comic, not Kickstarter, just the Alterna site. And then as for me, on King Cryptid, this is the last day for it. It's a new moon special. You can get a 2 tote bag set for $5, free shipping in the U.S. also kind of reduced shipping internationally. It's only on the Indiegogo portion of the campaign because of the way the shipping specifications are set up. I can't do that on the website. So you can go to kingcryptid.com and it'll take you right there. Again, today is the last day to get those tote bag sets, the new moon special. We had a new moon last night. King Cryptid's powers are at a peak on the full moon and at their lowest on the new moon, in case people are wondering why they do full moon and new moon, because they tie into the character. So cheer him up. He's feeling low, you know. Go check out the perk.
And it's a fantastic cryptid monster. Get it. We need more monsters. Need more monster books.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, man. And again, everybody, thank you guys. See you tomorrow night. I'll be back at 9 o'clock Eastern with, let me see, look at the calendar here, Adam Lawson. Adam Lawson's going to be on the show. We're going to have a graphic design and lettering show. So discussing all that kind of stuff. Yeah. That'll be fun.
Adam's good. Adam's great.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Until then, everybody, it is daytime here, wherever it is by you. If it's nighttime, like where Peter's at. Until then, until tomorrow, have a great night and an even better tomorrow. See you guys. Everybody, take it easy.